Hi there, Rick here. I just saw an interesting video of talking about Canada Post here. Okay, it was on my Microsoft app. Okay, um, so this 2 minute video. Okay, it's called Canada Post posts $840 million loss, makes final offer to union. Okay, it's right there. Okay. So in 2024, okay, they lost 841 million. That amount would have even been higher, okay, but it would have been as high as 1.3 billion dollars, okay. Yeah, it hit the $1 billion mark, okay. Um, but they sold off some of their assets, okay. So that loss was, well, not as high as it should have been, right? Um, in the story, they go on to say how Canada Post has lost um, money as long as 7 years straight. Okay, and it probably would have gone bankrupt. Okay. If it wasn't help from the government, because the government gave them a $1 billion loan. Yeah, I'll say that again. The government gave Canada Post a $1 billion loan. Okay. Um, I'm sure that there was uh, some stipulations to that $1 billion loan too. Okay. And another thing too is professor from McMaster University just saying how he could see Canada Post basically going bankrupt within a year. Okay, what it looks like is, well, you're throwing good money um, at bad money, basically. Okay, um, that's a lot of money. Okay, $1 billion. Okay, Canada Post had already lost as much as I think about $500 million, $540 million in the first quarter of this year. Okay, um, I think what they need to do is they just need to restructure. Okay, um, but still, even with the restructuring, okay, there's still going to be problems. Okay, but if they don't do anything, okay, um, things are just going to get worse, because there's other companies out there, um, like Amazon, for example, right? I hear that they have a very uh, good way of delivering packages, right? And they made these changes, okay, over time, okay, over the years, okay, to improve their logistics delivery business, okay. Um, and then, okay, I think I mentioned to you in my previous videos, okay, my neighbor, okay, he's a delivery courier too, okay, and he works for a company, okay, um, and they pay him for his deliveries. He makes deliveries all over around the Lower Mainland, not just Vancouver, okay. Um, and then I was talking to him, you know, um, what do you deliver? And he says, just about everything, okay. Um, so he has a minivan, okay, and I've seen inside his minivan, right? There's quite a bit of room in there, okay. Early sometimes, during the day, just saying how things are really quiet, you might as well just go home because we're just really quiet today. So his business, what is it? Has slow spells too, right? Um, just like with a lot of other industries too, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Canada Post, because on their path that they're on right now, right? Um, just posting, huge losses, okay? Like, this is in the hundreds of millions of dollars, right? How long can you go on like this, right? Before, um, the company just goes bankrupt, okay? It just goes bankrupt because, um, when you have a loss last year in 2024 of $841 million, right? Um, a lot of smart business people would say, you got to restructure, okay? If you don't do anything about it, things will just get worse, okay? So, I have seen, Canada Post, um, they kind of like let independent business people start up um, postal outlets, okay, around the city, okay. But um, I think that ran into some problems too, okay, because it doesn't always, work out sometimes, okay. That those are some of the challenging things about, running a business, right? Um, I know that there's a postal outlet that I go to, probably every once in a while, okay, in Vancouver. It has, parking spots out front, okay. It's a little strip mall area, okay. It's easy access in, and, there's usually always, parking, okay. Um, and, just from going in there, it looks like, yeah, they're really busy. They have, lots of packages in the back. Okay. Also seems like, they got a constant flow of customers, going in the door. Okay. And, people are getting money orders, people are getting stamps, people are sending out parcels. They also have, a photocopying business in there as well. They got stationery in there, right? Um, so I think uh, it's quite convenient, okay? But I hope you found this story interesting.